Thanks for buying a Lolo rack and supporting American-made manufacturing. Let's put this puppy together. Hey, this is Joe from Lolo Racks. Thanks for your order and supporting American-made products. We're going to put together the standard 6-bike rack. It's essentially the same as a 4-bike rack, and we'll explain how that goes coming up. The middle of the holes back here. Tools we're going to need: you need a 3/4 inch wrench, 1 or 2. A 19 can be used in a pickle, 3/4 preferred. This is a 3/4 inch socket. You could use 2 wrenches. This is a 9/16 socket. You could use a 9/16 socket or a 14 mil in a pickle, wrench or socket. And then for the standard bike rack, this is a 5/8 socket. You could use a 5/8 socket or wrench to tighten that, or 16 mil in a pickle. We're going to start putting together the 6-bike rack. We got the receiver tube. There's small holes and big holes. The big holes will go to the vehicle. We'll get our hitch pin opened up here. Cut this open, our trusty Leatherman. There we go. That. Just for longevity's sake, we're going to throw a drop of any kind of oil, chain lube, car oil, even WD-40. WD-40 doesn't last as long as oil does, but throw that in there. That keeps that happy in the winter time in the slop. Open that up. Let's go ahead and put another drop back here too. Back in where it rotates. That's it for that. The sleeve, just some threads. And then we're going to want to put any kind of grease on the shaft here and the threads. Any kind of automotive or bike grease, especially if you live in the Northeast or where they salt the roads. It's going to keep everything happy for a lot longer. Like that. Okay, set that aside. And then you install the square nut into the hitch tube on the side of the bigger holes, the 5/8 holes. To do that, grab the spring, squeeze the spring, and kind of sneak it in. Maybe if you need a little helping hand, you bump it with a tool. Not to get the spring caught sideways. And here we're lined up with the first hole. This is where you'd start out. Most vehicles you start here. And then depending on your vehicle, if you have a minivan or something on the lower side, you may want to see if you can get to this hole. Both holes are safe to use all the time. It's just on lower hitch vehicles. If you could tuck into the vehicle further, it'll increase or make for a better departure angle and more ground clearance. Like less likely your bikes will touch the ground on a steep driveway or something like that. But we'll start out here for this vehicle. If you do need to go to the other hole, simply just tap it down and get to the other hole. And then we'll take this with our threads on your right hand side, passenger side of the vehicle. Make sure there's no pebbles and stuff in there, and then line up to that threaded hole. We'll take our lightly greased hitch pin. It's very important that this goes this direction. If it goes this way, it might hurt the spring and make for a migraine later on. So this will come in also from the passenger side, such that the threads are nearest the bolt head. Bolt's going this direction. Passenger side, the bolt goes in from the passenger side. Line up to that first hole. Maybe give it a little wiggle. It'll start threading. Once you get a few threads in there, the sleeve can go in from the opposite side give it a little wiggle, it'll slip in. The sleeve will go in from the opposite side. Maybe give the tube a little wiggle, it'll slip in. As soon as it gets past this reduced diameter here, you're good to go and the lock will clear. Make sure your key unlocks the lock. That way you don't get stuck if something weird happened. And then your lock will pop on. If you have something like a Tahoe or other vehicles where there's plates and everything's real tight in here, make sure, like on the Tahoes, you'll go through like the toe point hole because it won't fit this way. Make sure you got a way to get the key in before you click it on. Give it a confirmation jiggle, make sure it clicked all the way on. So you can tighten this up. Usually you can spin it pretty easily. You get a 5/8. I happen to have a socket or a 5/8 wrench. Not an impact gun. Tighten that up. And then you want 35 foot-pounds, aka pretty tight, not full blast here. Pretty good. You'll check it again after a couple journeys. Sometimes they'll settle in, and then check it periodically. Okay, we got the hardware kit here. We're gonna pull apart the pivot plate kit 1. These are American made, grade 8. These are 4 1/4 inches long from underneath the head to the end. We're gonna have 4 of these guys, and our red pin for the standard tilting rack. We begin by getting a washer, bolt, washer, bolt, bottom. Here's where we make a decision what kind of vehicle we're running. For 95% of cars, we go with this middle hole. That gives you some lean towards the vehicle. That gives you a little better ground clearance. Keeps the bikes closer to the vehicle. And the other option would be this mirror slotted hole. That puts you straight up 90 degrees to the hitch. That'd be for like if you had a Jeep or a Bronco or something with a rear mounted spare. That gives you a little more spare tire clearance. Or if you got a shuttle rig on your truck, you could fit the bikes in the tailgate and run the bike rack. So we're gonna go for normal vehicle. For most vehicles, we go with this middle location. And then the red pin goes in this location only for this setup, not for the swing out. We're gonna go a washer on all the backs of these guys. 1, 2, 3. Make sure we got our washers in here. 3 places on both sides of the plate. Like that. Okay, we got the mast here. The tabs face towards the bikes and the logo faces out. If you have a bad shoulder like me, you could have a buddy help you, or just struggle through it a little bit for a second. And then make sure we get the washer down here, 1 here, and 1 here. It's not a bad idea to get some grease right here and here, especially on that guy. This being the main one. Grease on the red pin, also very beneficial. This is biodegradable. Okay, and then we're going to go back with the plate. When everything's square, it should line up. And then 3 more washers. Not there, here. 1, 2, 3. Our nylock nuts. They won't turn when it hits the plastic there. We're going to tighten up these main bolts going through the pivot plates and the mast and the receiver. We happen to have a 3/4 inch wrench and a 3/4 inch socket. 2 3/4 inch wrenches is okay, or a 19 works if you ain't got a 3/4. Okay, so we got the wrench on the head of the bolt, and then the socket or another wrench on the nut here, and just tighten her up. And then do this for the other two. Make sure the rack isn't really leaning, sort of have it sort of centered up, and tighten them up pretty tight. And then we'll check it in a second. More power tools. I'm just bringing them up till they touch, and we'll check them with the wrench. These should be pretty tight, like almost lug nut tight. And then we'll check our pin operation here. So push forward on the rack, and the pin should move out. We should have some friction on the rack a little bit. If that becomes hard to use, we could bump, or if that's kind of too grippy or it's hard to run the pin, go ahead and loosen this guy up like about 1/8 of a turn maybe. Yeah, and that'll free that up nicer. And that'll get easier once you get a couple trips on it. And put your pin in and put the hairpin clip through. Don't ever drive with this guy not clipped in safe. So if your pin is tight, what you want to try to do is just kind of give it a little bump forward. See, like if you have weight on it, the pin's tight. You give it a little bump, it takes the pin off. Sometimes if this bolt's too tight, it kind of binds a little bit. So you can go ahead and loosen that up like maybe about 1/8 of a turn, 15 degrees or so, and that might help. You don't want to go too loose because then your rack's wobbly, but you don't want to go too tight. You'll find a nice balance. All right, we're going to assemble the top crossbar. There really isn't a front or back or a left or right, so we'll put the bolts in it. All right, this will be in the master pack, the hardware kit, crossbar hardware kit. We got, I believe it's 2 1/4 inches long. There's a longer and a shorter bolt. This one has an unthreaded section here that'll drop in with a washer underneath. Do another one just like that, and we'll go up to our bike rack here. And then we'll take 2 washers, put those on the back, and a nut. Do the same for the other side too. We got our 3/4 inch wrench and a 3/4 inch socket, or another 3/4 inch wrench. Go, I like to do this one first here. Righty tighty. Righty tighty. And then once it touches, give her like another quarter turn or so. Pretty tight. You don't want to go bananas on there and over tighten it and crush the tube or anything. Repeat that for the other side here then. We got our top crossbar assembled and tightened up tight. Now we're going to install our patented bike carrier hooks here, handlebar carrier. Okay, so we got the carriage bolt. This is a 2-inch long carriage bolt. If you have the downhill hooks, you'll have 2 1/4-inch long carriage bolts, but we'll show you that later. The carriage bolt goes in, and then the square engages the square in the hook carrier itself. We'll take this. I like to hold both, kind of line it up, give a little wiggle, make sure that engages all the way, and then we'll repeat the process for however many hooks you have. So with your Lolo, it's drilled for a 6-bike pattern and a wide 4-bike pattern. If you're going to go with the 6-bike rack, you'll install the hook in the first spot available here, and then for the 6-bike you'll install the next hook in the next set of holes. There was a time when we had another hole here. That hole's been deleted. If you want to go to the wide spacing 4, you'll skip 2 holes, so you have an open hole next to your mast bolts. This will be open and this will be open, and you'll go here. This will be your wide 4-bike optional setup. You can do it wide on one side or both sides if you have gravel bikes. This will give you more gravel bike drop bar clearance or road bike drop bar clearance. But we're building out 6-bike racks, so we're going to go to the next available holes, and then the next hook will go in these. Bike will go install closest to the mast, like such. 4th carrier will go next to the mast. If you wanted to do the wide spacing setup for gravel bikes, road bikes, drop bar bikes, will go in that one. And then your 4th or last carrier will go here. But we're going to continue with our 6-bike build here. All right, this is the 6-bike rack setup as the 6-bike rack. The only open holes are here. These are the optional holes to change your setup. This will be the setup for your wide spacing 4-bike. We'll have 2 open holes, 2 open holes, 2 open holes. This gives you clearance for your drop bar on your gravel or road bikes, or more spacing, wide spacing for mountain bikes or other bikes. Ready. We'll take, these are 3/8 stainless washers. Go washer, washer, and a nut, and a nut with the nylock portion. The inserted plastic portion will go outboard. The threads will start easy. It'll stop when it hits the nylock, and then that's good. We'll install all of them, and we'll come back and tighten all of them. We got ourselves a 9/16 deep socket. Sometimes a normal socket will work. A 14 usually works. Sometimes it's a little snug because it's a slightly different size. I got a 9/16 socket and ratchet here. A 9/16 wrench works as well. I'm gonna give that a turn. Feel it touch. You go like about a quarter turn after it touches. Maybe a little squeak, and then repeat the process for the rest of them. You'll want to hold the carriage bolt, the head down, so that the square doesn't pop out. So then, it essentially tightens itself, or it holds the other side for you, as long as the head doesn't pop out of the carrier side. Just so they touch. Don't go crazy, it might dimple it. We're going to install the carrier straps. These are marine grade quality material. They're made to be out in the sun and the rain. There's a warning label on here. Please don't shoot this at your eyeball or something. Be careful. We'll install that through the holes, pull it down, and then what you do is you give it a loop. You tie an overhand knot, pull it like that. You don't have to pull it way tight, just enough. And you want to have about an inch of tail, like that. That's it. And then when you go like, this is essentially what it does with the bars. It'll be pretty snug like that. That's how you know you're good. I just do this so they don't dangle in the breeze. You don't have to do this. We got the top crossbar assembled with the bike carriers. I put that on first so I'm not stepping into the lower crossbar or bumping my head on anything. So now we'll assemble the lower crossbar. This is the same for both the 4 and the 6 bike rack, any variant. We got the tire notches will go towards the sky. Okay, we got the shorter, fully threaded 1/2 inch 13 bolts. And we got a washer. We'll drop that through the washer. Another washer. And then again, we got the notches upward. Okay, we'll install that through the 2 holes. We've got 1/2 inch washers on both faces here. And 2 nuts. Use the 3/4 inch wrench and socket, or wrench and wrench. Touch. These get pretty tight pretty quick. It's solid. Go fairly tight on those. Sometimes these tabs are slightly deformed from welding. Once they tighten up to here, everything will be tight. This doesn't carry any weight. It's going to be rock solid. It's good to go. We got 6 more straps. We'll install those. Similar to the top carrier, pull that through. This time we'll have about 2.5 inches of tail here, such that when you go through here, that'll be snug. You could adjust this, say if you got a fat bike or a fatter bike, you might move that around just so you're snug and your bike don't want to jump out of the pocket there. It's good to go. We're going to show you how to load a bike on the bike rack here. All right. I got kids and you may have kids too. But if you have a Lolo, you could bring your kids' bikes. You don't have to put them inside or waste any space. You can use the bike rack as it comes. I'll show you how to do that. I got my son's BMX bike here. And we'll open the bungees up. Grab that. That'll drop in the crossbar. Might hang funny for a second, but we'll get our... We have these cam straps on the site. If you have something similar, it'll do the same thing. Lash that through. Just catch to the lower crossbar. Cinch that down tight. And then on top, go over the crossbar. You can go outside or inside, as long as you go over the bar and back in. This is safe. All right, so yeah, we loaded the kids' bike, and sometimes I load the kids' bikes first. This is a good example. Sometimes this is skinnier crossbar as well, so that kind of made it skew funny. I'll look at my bikes and sometimes they'll skew a little bit, so I'll have them so they skew away from the other bikes. You wouldn't want this going in the middle and skewing into your bike. I put the kids' bikes, sometimes they'll skew different depending on the curvature of their bars. And this is a shorty bike, so we got the additional strap here. This is lock solid. But now I'm gonna put my bike on here and I'll show you how to do that. Yeah. All right, so I jumped off. I have the bike, I'm riding up to the rack. I jump off this side of the rack. Don't forget to undo this first. Don't forget to undo that. What I like to do is I reach over and grab the fork in the rear triangle. Like so. The bottom, this strap will just go anywhere through the wheel and back into the pocket. And then on top, you can go, depending on what controls you got and if there's computers or mounts or anything, you can go inside or outside, here or here. Same for down here. As long as you're going over the bars and back in, bike is ready to go. One small note, if you have kids bikes or bikes with narrower handlebars, sometimes this will be closer to the carrier. In that event, it may want to put pressure on the hose or the cable. It's not a preferred scenario. In that event, you may want to just slightly rotate the brake or the controls just so you're not putting any pressure on the end of the hose there. You know, so you're either one or the other. But this has plenty of room to glide away. On the bottom, you'll just come through and back in. Don't forget your spicy dice. So this is how we're gonna demonstrate how to tilt the rack. This is a standard pull pin rack. So you can go all the way down or tilt to clear a hatch on a vehicle. Okay, so we don't pull on the keeper, don't pull on that, it'll potentially damage it. You could use your foot to push on the open end, push it if you want, or pull on the pin or push on the pin, but don't tug on the cord. I got a hand up here on the, further up on the upright. Once you take the weight off, see it's stuck, take the weight off, it's pretty, it takes the weight off of it. And then before you move, you go back to one of these holes. Generally the middle hole clears most hatches and tailgates. Your geometry may be different on your vehicle. And then you could go all the way flat out to the ground if you leave the pin out. And then when you go to drive, put the pin back through and put the keeper back on. You'll remove the safety hairpin clip and then put a little forward pressure on the mast. Takes the pin on, the weight off the pin. The pin will be easy to move. When you do come out, you are supporting the weight of the rack a little bit. And then generally I go through the middle of the holes back here. And that'll tilt without putting any pressure on the bike. To return to the driving position, so this will either, this is stopped part way, but if you leave the pin out, it'll go all the way flat out to the ground. If you need to put a new mattress or something in the back of your vehicle or haul some big stuff, a large amount of beverages perhaps, to go forward, we'll push it forward. I kind of move up and down. So my tips of the trade is I have the pin, I'm pushing in, I find the hole, you give it a little wiggle and she'll go right through. And put the safety pin back on the end. Never drive without the safety clip, and you're ready to go. If we pull the pin, you could leave the pin all the way out, go flat out to the ground. If you didn't have the Boss swing out, this would be your full van door access. Don't mind my mess. All right, all of the hitch mounted bike racks will have a locking port here, which any bike shop level quality cable will go through. And then you could run this through and lasso through your bikes and padlock to itself, or it's one option. Or you could run your U-lock through here and catch a bike, or catch the cables, come back through, and then lock them up. This is a deterrent. This isn't like a stay at the hotel overnight kind of thing, but if you're going to grab a pizza or some yummy tacos, that'd be a nice way to keep your bikes from wandering off. And don't forget the beverage opener. There's some imposters out there, but there's only one Lolo rack. And the way you tell is, if it ain't moving like that, it's probably a Lolo rack. If they're flopping in the breeze, it's not a Lolo rack.